All right, hi everybody. It's maybe a little bit after 1 o'clock, but it's here at 1 o'clock on Thursday. Just to introduce myself again, I'm Linda Schulte. I'm the broker owner of Schulte Realty, and as everybody knows, I come on Thursdays at about 1 o'clock, and I do presentations with vendors and maybe some non-for-profits out there. When we talk about home ownership, we talk about buying and selling houses, and with the non-for-profits, I like to highlight who's out there in the local community. So today we're going to be talking about a really good subject. It also ties in with insurance. So I think March 21st, I'm going to have somebody from an insurance company on, Jackie Berkson, talking about flood insurance. You guys like flood insurance, right? So today what we're going to be talking about is water remediation.
Water mitigation and mold remediation.
There you go. He knows all the words. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the folks from Rytech Orlando. So I'm here with Jillian. So go ahead and tell us who you are.
I am Jillian Justice. I'm the marketing and business development person for Central Florida, Orlando area.
And I'm Alex Stieg. I'm the operations manager for the mold division here in the Metro Orlando area.
Right. We got the mold guy with us, so that's awesome. So some of the things that we like to talk about on here is you know, somebody's a homeowner, or even if they live in an apartment or a house that they're renting, you know, if you have a busted pipe or something comes flooding in from the outside, it's what do you do immediately to be able to stop it from continuing? Especially if you're a homeowner and you have homeowners insurance, you have a responsibility, right, to stop it, to prevent it from continuing to get worse. So, so I guess that's where we should probably start at is, what would somebody do if they have a busted pipe in the house, besides turning it off, have a busted pipe in the house or water gets in?
Yeah, if you see a leak, you want to try to stop that leak as quick as possible. Figure out what's leaking if you can, and shut the main water off is a good place to start. The main water to the house shuts off everything, so that'll stop the bleeding per se. Mm-hmm. Once you kind of got that taken care of, just try to soak up as much water as you can on your own, but then also make that call to your insurance company to get the ball rolling for an insurance claim if that flood is significant enough.
Gotcha. So what Alex was talking about, you said to find your main shutoff valve to your house. I'm just going to give everybody a piece of advice. Find that now. Don't wait until it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're exhausted and you're in trauma time. Go ahead and find that now. So interesting, I just remembered this, something just like this week. One of my past clients calls me up and like, hey, who do you have for a plumber? Something happened, a pipe bust in the house and blew their toilet off. Blew the toilet off like it was off the wall.
Oh, wow.
I still can't figure out exactly what happened. Something happened. Somebody was in the attic doing something, I guess, and something with the pipe. So luckily, that person knew exactly where to turn off the water to limit the amount of damage that was being done. But I've also had phone calls from people calling me and like, hey, I mean, in a condo I used to own, somebody else owns another one. They called me up and they're like, hey, where's our shut-off valve? I'm like, I don't know. I know it wasn't my place.
It can easily be covered with grass. You know, over time it gets covered.
Yeah, and unfortunately, where mine was, it was actually covered with pavers. So, you know, so if something happened at my condo, I don't do as I do as I say, by the way. So again, also, not only on your house there's a shut-off, but there's something at the roadway to the main shut-off to the entire home, but that takes a special tool. So, I mean, shoot, I think I could probably do a whole presentation on that, too.
On how to shut your water off.
Yeah, I think so. That would be so entertaining, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's say that happens. We're going to use the example of a busted pipe in the house. You get the water shut off to the home. You said get it all dried up as much as possible, towels or whatever. What would be the next step for a homeowner?
Well, typically, you want to call your insurance company, get them involved, because they would dispatch a company like us. We're a preferred vendor for a handful of insurance carriers, and we specialize in water extraction and structural drying. So we're trying to get on site to dry the areas as quick as possible and hopefully prevent mold growth or any kind of furniture damage or other significant damage. Okay,
gotcha. That's all good stuff right there. Okay, again, another thing, I'm just going to put a piece of advice to everybody. It used to be in insurance as well. Know where your phone numbers are for your insurance company and your policy numbers now. Don't wait until 2 a.m. in the morning when you're frustrated, correct, guys?
Right.
Yeah, you want to have, I mean, I have it in my phone even, you know, I would definitely have that on my phone and ready to go. So, got a couple of people saying hi to us. Hi, hello from Washington. My Maureen Blum, she's always on here every once. She's one of my biggest commenters on there. And she's gonna yell at me because I'm gonna tell her I can't read her writing again. She's like, make sure you can read my stuff. We've been friends since we were 6 years old, so she can abuse me, I guess so. All right, so now we were talking just a second ago too, that you say people are afraid of mold. And so not all mold is bad? I think all mold is bad, that's my perception. So tell me what you were.
Yeah, good question. Well, here in Florida, it's so hot, mold is very common, and it can grow within a couple of days, really, of something being wet. So a lot of people can go online and start reading about mold in their house, and they get scared from the internet. And you don't want mold in your house, but there's a threshold for when to be scared or when to call a professional remediator to get involved. And really, that is about 10 square feet of visible mold. You think that's kind of a lot, but that's when a licensed remediator should get involved.
Okay, so that's like a 10 by 10 area of mold you see?
5 by 2. Yeah,
5
it's
by
like
2?
5 feet over, 2 feet high. If you've got that much mold, only a licensed professional should touch it, because there are some protocols and ways to handle that mold without causing cross-contamination.
Yeah, and I think I may have had a conversation with you about that, about if somebody doesn't do it properly, if there's mold somewhere and they go in and they clean it, like say with a brush or something like that, and they're not doing it properly, mold can get into the air?
Definitely can.
Okay.
It definitely can. Now, even if it's less than 10 square feet, it's still mold in your house. You want to get rid of it. So a company, like a mitigation company like Rytech, we would specialize in coming in and containing off that area with some plastic sheeting to carefully remove that mold so it doesn't become airborne and those spores don't get stirred up and cause respiratory issues. And that's where the real problem could occur, is if that's not done carefully.
Okay, gotcha. Now, is there a way, does mold have a smell?
Musty smell is your most common description of how it smells.
When I'm out showing houses that have been locked up for a while, we walk in a lot of times and the person will say to me, it smells like mold in here, doesn't it? I'm like, well, I'm not a mold professional, and it's not a sensor. But, the smell of it being locked up home can have a musty smell to it. Does that mean there is mold, or are you going to tell me we're in Florida we have mold everywhere?
Well, you're right about that. Smells can be tricky. Don't always go off a smell if it means mold or not. That stagnant air in a closed up home is very common. And that's a good topic you brought up, is you want to make sure the houses aren't sitting stagnant for too long. You want some airflow. You want to keep your AC at a temperature where it will kick on if it gets too cold or kick on if it's too hot, to circulate the air to keep the humidity in check.
Okay.
If the humidity gets out of check, over 65% relative humidity, is when mold can start to bloom on everything. So keep your AC in check if you're ever leaving the house, to keep that.
Was it
under
Joel
control.
who was on here the last time? Okay, so yeah, Joel was talking about that. He was talking all kinds of numbers with me. I have a CPA, I don't do math, so my head was spinning about that. But what I do remember is that he told me when it gets cold outside, that you burp your house. Are you familiar with that concept? If you're not, I did it to my house several times already. I can tell you all about it.
Yeah, burping the house is a technique for drying, and sometimes we do use that. If it's a cold front that came through and there's low humidity outside and there's a humidity issue inside, open the windows. Get some good, cool, dry air in the house that exhausts that warm, stagnant, musty air.
Yeah, and as soon as it was, maybe, I know it's low humidity outside, but it wasn't that cold yet. I was like, I can't wait to open up all my windows and burp my house. I was so excited about it. Yes, I get excited about insurance and about mold and burping houses. Craziness, I know. Okay, so just jumping into something else, again, going back to, we got a water leak. They turn off water to the house. Make sure you find out where your water shutoff is. Remember that, and have your insurance people on your phone book as well. And call them. You get somebody to come out. So they call somebody, we call ABC Water Restoration and blah, blah, blah. Not you guys, because I know how you do business. They walk in and they're like, hey, before we do any work here, I need you to sign this form. Remember, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, it could be 4 o'clock in the morning, you're exhausted. And they say, here, sign this paper. Is there something we should be looking out for?
Absolutely. You need to pay attention to the verbiage of the form that you're signing. You want to make sure that it maybe says work release form or direction of payment, but if it says anything with assignment of benefits, that's a big no. You want to speak with your insurance agent prior to signing anything with that.
So a form, but to be able to perform the work, there are forms that a company like yours would ask them to sign.
Mhm.
What would those forms say on there that would be, I guess, an okay thing to sign?
Yeah, a simple, straightforward OK form is a work authorization. You're authorizing work to take place, and you may be authorizing that company to bill your insurance company, but just make sure there's not a contractual assignment of benefits terms on that paper. If there's anything with an AOB, so we call it an assignment of benefits,
Mhm.
stay away from signing that. Contact your insurance company maybe first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
If a company doesn't want to do work because you don't sign the assignment of benefits, that's
Find a
okay.
different person.
Yeah, that's going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's, it's find somebody else. I mean, honestly, if they're forcing you to, under duress, forcing you to sign something, you don't want to do that.
Inevitably, the assignment of benefits is bad for the industry and bad for the consumer because it allows the contractor to hijack the actual claim. And potentially, not in all circumstances, it could lead to exorbitant amounts on the claim. So it could be something as simple as a $1,500 claim now turning into something that's $20,000, $30,000, $50,000.
Right. And we've had conversations like this before on our Facebook Lives. I've talked with Todd Ulrich at Channel 9. We talked about assignment of benefits as well. And I actually have a friend of mine who had a personal experience with it where they said, okay, it's going to be, I don't remember the numbers, but so it was like $25,000. And the amount of work equal to about 11. They got to keep the other the remainder of it. And that was their business model.
And that helps drive up the insurance
It
rates.
does. And who likes to pay those high insurance premiums? Not us. And a lot of times people are like, oh, the big bad people at the insurance company. And I get that perception, but the thing is that if people are taking advantage of the insurance companies, which therefore causes things to go up in prices. So assignment of benefits, AOB, are no-goes. If you guys have any questions on this, please give me a shout, give me a call. I'm not an insurance agent and I'm not a contractor, but I will direct you to the right people.
And we can also give you information.
Yeah.
We have information through the Consumer Protection Coalition, and we can provide that for you as well.
Yeah, I would definitely refer you over to Jillian Justice, because I know you were an insurance person before.
Correct.
So you would be able to handle those kinds of questions totally, so I appreciate that. Okay, so we don't want them to sign the AOB. Is there anything else, let's say there hasn't been a leak. Oh, you know what I want to ask you about? This one bothers me all the time, is a roof leak. So I've had a roof leak, it didn't come into my home, but I know my rafters are wet. What do we do in that situation? I always think it's going to cause mold immediately. Is that a true statement?
Well, you want to stop the leak once again. That's step one. A roof tarp is a good way to start if you can't get a roof repair made. But you want to stop the bleeding, so to speak, put a roof tarp on there. And then some drying should occur, or have it at least inspected by a professional like Rytech.
Okay.
We can look at it. But truthfully, an attic space gets pretty hot.
Oh, yeah.
And the sun's beating down on it. That heat up there evaporates moisture pretty quick. So a lot of times an attic space dries up before you know it, and there's not a big problem up there because it dried out and evaporated so quick because of the heat.
I'm telling you, that stresses me out because I'm thinking all the time, like, oh, if there's a water leak in the roof at any point, was there a bunch of mold up there or not? So thank you for clearing that up for me. It eased my worries, not just for me, for my customers, people who own the houses and everything like that. So let's see here. Now let's talk about, we may have chatted about this a little bit. It's about water getting into the home. Like, say they should have had a French drain put on the inside, on the outside, and water gets into the home. What do you suggest is somebody, when they see this happening, who do they call you guys for the water extraction? But do you guys have any suggestions for what they would do outside the home?
For a long-term repair to correct that storm drain, they would want to consult with a contractor who's got some experience doing those kind of exterior water drainage repairs.
Okay.
Those can be much more complicated and complex with water coming in from the outside, especially around the base of the slab. But yeah, consulting with the contractor who's got that experience is what you want to do. And we do work with some contractors who can help in those situations, and having your insurance company on board, going through the channels of the insurance company is also a good way.
Okay, good. All right, gotcha. sometimes people have a leak that happens, like a dishwasher, for instance, will have a little leak behind it, they get it fixed, but still there's that water back there, we can't see it, or was back there. I mean, just a little bit of water, I mean, is there a threshold on the amount of water that comes out and is standing still in a kitchen, for instance, that we get concerned with?
You know, you've got kids playing in the house and they'll drop a bottle of water, they'll spill a cup over. You know, you're not too worried about that amount of water. So as long as it can dry out, you're not gonna have a problem. But if there's enough water that sits wet or slow drip, that's constantly wet for days to weeks,
Okay.
then you're gonna have a bigger problem behind that wall potentially, and that slow drip is harder to catch.
Yes,
So
they
that
are.
slow drip, a little bit of water over a long period of time is the concern.
And that's a good thing when you're talking about the slow drip, like, could there be a water leak in the home? Is there's a way to look at the water meter or something, to make sure everything's off in the home, and you can go check your water meter, is that correct? That way you can see if something's maybe continuously, I know we did this with a sprinkler system once, so we're trying to figure out what was going, if there was a leak, is it coming from the house, or where was it coming from?
Yeah, a water meter can show a leak for sure, but sometimes if it's slow enough, just a little drip and the water meter is really not going to move much.
Really?
So
Okay.
those are the hidden problems with these slow drips. But really, what I would recommend is just try to keep an eye on your plumbing fixtures every once in a while. If it's an unused spare bathroom, just pop your head in there every once in a while to make sure it smells okay. If you're smelling a musty smell or something, a wet smell, start looking around because there could be something going on.
Yeah, gotcha. You're like, if it's a bathroom you never use, there's a house that's being built somewhere in Orlando, it's 90,000 square feet. I forgot how many bathrooms it has. I mean, I wonder if they have somebody every day going around and I mean, I have a split plan house and I hardly ever get to the other side to see what's happening over there. Could you imagine?
A lot of walking.
It would be very interesting, yes, it would be. Okay, so another thing that's a really important topic that's a hot spot is, see the commercials about the busted pipes underneath the claims for the cast iron, is that what they are?
Yes,
Okay, now, is that something you guys, I know you don't do plumbing, but you know, someone's got some water, they see some foundation water coming through, is that something you guys would be able to help out with?
Absolutely. You know, a leak's a leak. Doesn't matter what pipe it's coming from. We can definitely help mitigate that leak that's occurred.
Prevent from causing further damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I go off of a lot of my experience, but I've happened when I'm out buying and selling houses, when I get to, I see. So, here we're at a house that the flooring was put down, bamboo flooring. Told you the story,
Yes.
right? Very interesting. That's weird because bamboo really absorbs water. You can, honestly, I don't think it's a good product to have in Florida. And if you have a pool and if you have children, it's like the trifecta of like no. But it had a fourth element to the bamboo floors, and it was not sealed properly. And it was an older home, and so it didn't have subfloor, and it didn't have that other thing, the foundation.
barrier.
Yeah, vapor barrier. Thank you. Which I just learned about. So every day I'm learning something new with this. That's why I love doing real estate. Always learning something new. So they didn't put anything down, and so therefore it was. At first we're thinking maybe there was a pipe that broke, but it wasn't. I mean, because it was just even 100% throughout the entire flooring, and it was actually when we got in there and really looked at it, there was mold underneath that. It appeared to be mold coming through. That's what we noticed. So we'd have to pull it all up to really identify truly it was mold. But is that something you guys you can be able to mitigate as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Any kind of wet flooring material, we can definitely assess it, determine how wet it is. Is it really a broken pipe leak, or is it groundwater coming up from a lack of a vapor barrier? We can help judge that, and if the floor needs to be removed, we'll certainly have that floor removed. But going through the insurance company channels to make sure everything is approved upon before we do that work is what we always check on before we do something major like that.
Okay, yeah, that would be a big undertaking to take up all that flooring. The whole kitchen would have had to been taken up as well. So that would be a big mess there. Now, do you guys have equipment to see where the leak's coming from, or do you have to call in the leak detector people?
Leak detection specializes in figuring out where it's coming from, but we've got moisture meters, and using a little bit of history and experience doing this, we can usually tell where it's coming from if it's obvious, just by telling how wet it is and where it gets dry.
Okay, but if you detect, if you can see, it's like it's not just coming from one area, it's everywhere. That's pretty much a telltale sign. It's the foundation. It wasn't sealed properly. Because that would be in your best estimation.
Could be,
Okay.
absolutely, could
All
be.
right.
That's a widespread issue.
Yeah, it was a pretty big mess there. Felt sorry for the sellers because obviously my people didn't want to buy it after that. So
Yeah.
it's a nice house too. So yeah, one of the things that, and here's the thing, I always say this line, it's don't step over $1 to pick up a dime. And if you don't know what that means, it's like, hey, I'm going to go with XYZ flooring company because I'm getting it for half the price. You know, the thing is, and I think you guys can attest to this as well, is that if someone's they're cutting corners somewhere, and so it might be knowledge, it might be experience, or they might be like, hey, we're not going to put a barrier down, we're not going to seal it because we're doing it for less money. And so, you know, now it's costing them even more money, and bamboo floors are expensive. So don't step over $1 to pick up a dime. The other thing that I wanted to mention on here too was don't step over $1 to pick up a dime because you think you can do your own mold remediation and water extraction. It's not something that you want to take on yourself. So why don't you go into that a little bit? Why is it important to have a professional who does this every day? We talked about the mold a little bit. I think you want to go into that a little bit more again, especially because people are like, hey, I'm just going to put some pills on it.
Right, yeah.
Bleach and kills.
Avoid the bleach. You don't want to go down that road because the bleach is really just hiding the issue. It's going to turn that mold transparent. Those spores are still there, and a professional mold remediation is actually physically removing those spores from the house instead of painting something over it or spraying bleach on it. It's important when it is a mold remediation to get an estimate, have the estimate agreed upon before the work begins, and going into the details of how it's removed is just safely containing the areas, removing the affected materials, and cleaning and sanitizing all the surface areas in that containment. And then you always want to have a mold clearance test taken afterwards to verify the mold is successfully removed.
And what you just said about the mold clearance test is that's really important to have it, because if you're taking care of it in your own home, you have to say there was mold and this is what I did and here's the proof it was clear. We have to disclose if there's mold in our homes. So let's say somebody thinks, listen, I'm sneezing a lot in my house and my eyes are itchy, I think I have mold. What do you think that they should do? Should they make a phone call to you guys?
Absolutely, you can definitely give us a call. Now the mold testing side we try to keep that separate from the remediation side. There can be a conflict of interest if companies are testing their own jobs.
Oh.
So we work with a couple different mold assessment companies who would be happy to come in and do some mold sampling, and they can determine what that smell is, and they can determine the extent of the mold cross-contamination, if there is any mold issues there or not.
Do you have any idea how much that costs to do in a home?
Well, it's not cheap, but it starts typically around $400 to $500, but we've seen it go up to a couple $1,000, depending on how many samples that got to take and how large the house is too.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I've heard it's about $800, so I don't know, everybody has their own pricing, so.
That's about average
Yeah.
for some pre-testing to determine what the issues are, where it is, and then also with a mold protocol, they can provide for a remediator like us to follow that protocol and how to do the steps correctly.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, we try to stick to about 20 minutes while we're doing this, so we're coming up to about the 20 minutes mark here. So I really want to thank you guys again for having such an exciting topic such as mold. It's also, just wanted to recap a couple of things, is that if you've got a leak, you find a leak in your house, make sure you run out and find out where your water shutoff is on your home. Also find out where it is on the street. Make sure you also, before anything happens, have your insurance carrier's phone number in your phone with your policy number, because you want to have that handy if anything does happen in the middle of the night. And then another really important thing too is to never sign an assignment of benefits. It's not in the middle of the night especially. It might be a good thing for some situations, but not in most. Just make sure it's only a work order. A work authorization. And not all mold is bad, so if you see mold, it doesn't mean that you have to run for the hills or you're going to die. And it's not all black. When they say black mold, mold's always black, isn't it?
Most of it's black, but there can be other colors. Any mold in your house you don't want, but don't be too scared if you see a couple green spots on
Yeah.
a piece of material.
Well, you find it in the shower sometimes in the little crevices and stuff like that, and that's okay to use the bleach on those little spots, right?
In the shower,
Or
yes.
do we have to call in the remediation people? So, it's okay to call in the house cleaner for those, right? Okay.
Right.
All right, anything else you guys wanted to touch on that I maybe missed about mold and water extraction?
Nope, we're on 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You can call us at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you want to file your claim afterwards, that's fine. You can call us and we will get out there.
Right. And that's important that they are 24/7. So, how do they get a hold of you guys?
They can call the 1-800 number at 800-865-8787, or they can call me on my cell phone. That's 321-408-6951.
Look us up online too, rytechinc.com, and that's RYTECH.
Okay, and you guys are you're located everywhere in Florida, right?
We have full coverage for Florida, and we're in 26 states.
Okay. All right, good. So you cover all the counties. I work in all 6 counties here in Central Florida, so that's important to me. But people are watching from Washington, D.C. down to Miami also, so it's good for them to know you guys are in 26 states. Are you in Washington, D.C.?
I don't believe we're in Washington, D.C.
We may have some
We're in
franchises
Virginia,
close.
but we're in Virginia, so
Okay.
I mean, we may be close.
All right, gotcha. All right. Well, listen, everybody, I really appreciate you tuning in and watching this, and you guys for coming on and talking about mold and water extraction. I'm going to have insurance, Jackie Berkson from LRA. She's going to be on the 21st. We're going to talk about flood insurance, which is going to tie into all this. So if there's a flood in the home, again, you still need to call Rytech out so they can remove the water and make sure there's no mold in the home afterwards. Of course, I'm drawing a blank who's going to be on next week, but that's just, I'll post it that morning or something like that. If you guys are a vendor out there that deals with home buying, home selling, or even maintenance of a home, and those non-for-profits that are local, give me a call. I'd love to talk with you and see about having you on here and telling everybody about your information and doing a little educational piece with everybody. And so until next time, thank you all. You guys have a good rest of your Thursday and last day of February. Bye. We hit this finish button. Thanks.